Hi, and welcome again to RSVP Hollywood. Kathleen Cronin here, your host, and we're starting off today with some friends of mine. Lynda Day George, who most of you, I'm sure, remember from Mission Impossible, and she certainly was well known for the White Rain and Dove commercials and feature films, and the beautiful blonde with the penetrating blue eyes. So she's one of my guests. And with her is my former husband, Doug Cronin, who was a former Redskins football player, if we're going to get in the celebrity status here. But we're going to be talking about a subject that is close to the American heart. There are changes in business, and the changes are not necessarily good ones, and we want to kind of put the spotlight on some situations to see how you feel about it, with the corporate structures as they are and the small businesses kind of taking a beating in the end. So please stay with us. And Doug and Lynda, welcome to RSVP Hollywood.
Thank you.
Now, I know you intimately, both of you.
Yes.
And, well, not that way.
Wait a minute.
Here I go again.
Oh, no.
No, well, I was certainly instrumental in getting the two of you together when Doug and I decided we would change our status from married to not married. And Paula Shaw and I thought that after Christopher George, your husband, had met with a young and untimely death, that the two of you would be well suited, and boy, were we right.
Boy, were you right.
Yeah. And I know people have an interesting kind of perspective on what is it that allows you to have the kind of relationship that you have. The most normal, or not normal, I don't think they're normal, but other relationships that split up are more cats and dogs, and we're good friends.
Yeah.
Well, I think that a lot of that also, Doug, came out of the sharing that actually both Lynda and I shared a major part of your life, and that was centered around the business.
Yes.
And although I know real well, if you wouldn't mind kind of cueing us in, when you were just in your early 20s, you started ED&D Electronics.
Yes, yeah.
And, I've never really asked you about that. So just as a background for our audience, kind of give us a synopsis of the beginnings of your wonderful business that turned into...
That's interesting. I haven't shared that story in a long time. I was working for a company with Dick Goodwin, who's still connected with us. And we became very good at what we were doing, and so I wanted to do more. And it was, and I asked Dick if there was something I could do in addition to what I was doing. I was the chief engineer and then the sales engineer there at the company. And that was kind of at that time, this is back in 1959, long time ago, and it was an exciting time. So he said yes, and I started building and doing some design work on the side for that product, which happened to be cable assemblies or interconnecting devices. So I started engineering, design, and development was the name of the company. And our first year we did $7,000. Boy, that was a lot of money. Second year we did $14,000, and we kind of doubled
the business.
And became larger than the other company, and then asked Dick to join us. And we started in a little place in Pacoima, which is almost a ghetto in the Los Angeles area. It was at that time, and now it's becoming better. And we were there at that facility for 25 years, and the people, that's where you and I worked.
Absolutely.
Matter of fact, during the Carter administration, we went into the solar business a little bit, and I kind of took a deviation from that business, met you, and we
got real deviated.
Yeah, I deviated septum. We had a wonderful time, right? Mm-hmm. And we went back and built that business up. Made a high-class company out of it, I think. Brought some people from the ground up and made available to those employees that core sense, foundational feeling of family and business, where you can work in a place you feel good about. You're not, if you're doing well, you're not concerned about getting fired or run off the lot or whatever it might be. That I don't know if I answered that question. We started...
Well, I know when I met you, many of the employees had been there for 15 years, 16 years. It really was a family setting, and that was partly due to the way that you conduct business. And we did many things for the employees that were perhaps unconventional to other companies. We really did care about them, and we brought them up with us, and we created a vision for them so that everybody felt like we were going into that vision, and we actually accomplished it. And I think that ED&D was at a point, what was the fifth in the country of its kind?
Okay, that became later on. When you and I brought the company back up to something that was both quality related and dealing with high reliability products, and gave and I'll say this, gave the employees that sense of belonging, and not just a place to work and a place to go home feeling good about. Yes, I was a part of the contribution there. We went from around 40 employees to almost 110, not a great big company, but there's many of those companies in this country, and that's kind of the point that I wanted to talk about.
Sure.
So I have now an objective to talk about what's happening with America.
Right.
Why isn't it the industrial world leader like it was at one time? And I think that this has something to do with it. So going back to that time when you and I brought that company up to a place where people could belong, and it was clean, and it was exciting, then we asked our partner at that time to sell his position to SunBank Electronics, which is Roy Coates' company, and Roy and I knew each other. We started our companies at the same time back in the late 50s. And so we joined, and that combination went from, let's say we were 150th out of the types of companies that we were, to number 5 in the country. And then what we want to talk about a little later happened, and that, I think, just disappeared a tremendous opportunity for not only employees, but for America. That kind of dream that can happen with the company. And Lynda, and you and Lynda shared some of the same connection with the employees. You worked with them, showed them how to conserve, showed them how to make the best efficient manner occur in their productivity, and we worked with these people. We even brought people in and did a seance, as you said last time, once a week or once a month.
Well, let's clear that up. It wasn't a seance. Not exactly. But it was a way to help stress and meditation and introduce them to some other methods. Yeah.
And it was in support of the company.
Absolutely. And in support of the individuals.
The individual became the company. That's magic. And there's a lot of companies now that are maybe larger or mid-size and larger, where there's a lot of complaints about their position in the workplace, about the boss, about the administration, about the company. And there wasn't any of that going on at that time, because they knew we were concerned about them. We were training the heck out of them. We even gave...
we sure did.
We gave us guys the white eyes. We gave us the lessons on how to speak Spanish. And Lynda was instrumental in that, giving the Hispanics English lessons. And everybody started talking together. And the tremendous strength that brings up, and the foundation. They didn't have to worry about the foundation. Their abilities became better. They became, we were talking about earlier, they became strong in the community. They became connected with the school board. They became something that was contributing to America from their small place because of this place of employment.
Yeah, they had a real sense of belonging and community. And the sense of community came out of this is my opinion, came out of their wonderful security and support in their business. And they carried that out into their personal lives in their community, and really made a difference, not just in the company, which was incredible, but but in the community as a whole. And I think that's one of the things that we're missing so sorely right now, is that sense of community that people can carry from their workplace, that they can receive the kind of support and acknowledgement at work that makes them feel so well received in the communities, where they really feel comfortable, like they belong here. They really belong. And that's a big, important thing. That's my opinion.
Well, I agree with you completely, and I think that something that we should probably frame for our viewers is that this incredible company doesn't even exist anymore as it was, and that was part of what we really wanted to make known to the public. And also, we would really enjoy any comments from you, some of you that may have had similar situations, or those of you that have had corporate takeovers, things like this, where, a company that was really quite magical, like ED&D really was. It was a family feeling. And I think that there is so much stress and so much pressure in just about everything, and it gets worse. And
Not better.
to give the employees something that was there at ED&D, and I think you said it so well, Lynda, people don't mind working hard. It takes some of the stress and the misery out. I mean, everybody has to work. Nobody wants to. If it was our preference, we'd all walk in the woods in Wisconsin, and I may there anyway. Forget about eating. Anyway, I tell you, you just wonder, what's the point?
Yeah.
So
Along that line, Kathleen, that it became fun. That's one thing that I missed talking about, that you brought to the employees, and Lynda brought the employees absolute fun.
Yeah.
We had Employee of the Month thing. We had
Babies of the month.
Babies of the month. You had pictures of the babies all over the
That's
place.
right.
We had potluck lunches every week.
every holiday.
And I tell you, those women could cook.
Made up
and
holidays.
they felt so good. Can you eat that hot sauce? Let's see.
Right.
And it was wonderful to touch them, to put your arms around them, to hold them, to be with them during difficult times, and during the times it was fun. They had fun at their work. These people had fun. And I'm going to say that for the most part.
Yes.
And much different than some of the larger companies. So much so that ED&D then, when it joined Sunbank, became a kind of a leader. Sunbank says, well, we want to do some of that. How come you're so productive? How come these people are so happy? When you guys come to the picnic, we had a big company picnic.
Right.
You'd win the volleyball thing. You'd win the tug of war. You'd win how come? Well, we're having a great time. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So that kind of disappeared. And we had people there for 25 years, not just 10,
That's right.
13 years, 25 years.
That's right.
And there's a thing that happened. So part of the story, if I can go on with the story, was we joined Sunbank, and a very good friend of mine, in Roy Coates, got sick
Yeah.
a year after, the kind of cancer that you die real quick with. And we said, don't die. You and I, remember? We said,
Yeah.
take the
Did our
wheatgrass, do this program, and you won't die. Not that we knew, however, we had some experience. And he took the wheatgrass, and he got better. And then he said, I don't want to do that anymore. And he ended up dying. During that time, though, he said, I need to sell the company and take care of my estate. And I think he did a fairly good job in selling the company. After the fact now, I have a real concern about the people that bought it. It's a personal concern, my opinion, and my experience, that company that bought Sunbank did not have any concept and may have had a plan on getting rid of companies like this. That's what I say if we're going to deal with the core of America, I say, for what it's worth, that there's something about that deals with taking those employees, dissipating them into the walls, into the grasses, into the whatever. They got to recover. I had to recover. I'm not concerned about my recovery. I mean, we have that ability, I have that strength. Well, what happens when I go recover? I start from ground zero, I build up. Matter of fact, now I'm with a company, Southern California Braiding, who's got a guy who's led it for 17 years, Leo McIntyre. Incredible man. He's got the same drive that we used to have. and he's got that ability to care for the employees, and he teaches them how to run all this equipment. And now he has with him people that like to do that too. This company's going to be another one of those in about 5 or 6 years. So we lose 5 or 6 years of what I could have done, I'll use myself, or anybody could have done, you could have done, Lynda. What if you'd have stayed there? I mean, the employees went nuts with her anyway, because here's this lady that has her face on the tube, and now she's their friend. You know, that was an extra plus. And these people at Jocelyn didn't like that. Something about that. And I don't know how to read that. Something about that. And I'll say this now. They're inappropriate people, my opinion and my experience. And I think they had a plan about it, and I think that's what's wrong with America. And their company...
Because it's to another advantage.
Yeah, well, let's say there was a stock advantage, somehow or another, that they can print in their quarterly report something about this. If they took on this company, had some tax advantage, gained some cash somewhere, they could pay their dividend better, because they're a dividend-paying stock. And I'll say this, in the short term, that stock's going to take a dive somehow or another. That's my forecast, for what it's worth. Okay, and I'm not an expert at that. I want to say that's a forecast. These people are inappropriate, and that nice company is going to go into the somewhere because of that, those kinds of people. And I've got an agenda now, somehow or another, to take these kind of people out there in the universe. If you've had this experience, contact Kathleen, and we'll get together. We'll go out there and make a difference. America has the ability, the people, the desire, the willingness to be the #1 industrial nation in the world. It doesn't have to be defense products. Again, it doesn't have to be defense products. We're in the defense business. My partner now, Leo McIntyre, is the greatest guy in the world, I think, right now, because he has the same objective. And we're serving the heck out of the customers. And so most of those companies out there don't care about the customer. Matter of fact, they're mad at them. That's not okay. That's not America. So that's my objective, Kathleen. And I really appreciate you taking the time to let us come on our show and talk about that.
Well, I think it's important, and I think that, you know, there is so much happening. Certainly the economy is such that people don't know what's going to be coming up next, and people, I think people are afraid and confused, and all of those wonderful employees I know are out there struggling because they had a kind of situation that I know is unique. I believe that ED&D was breaking ground in areas that you were leading the way for other companies to notice that. And I just know that to be true. And we were all a part of it. And the excitement of seeing that productivity can also create you know, you don't have to crack the whip, although certainly setting objectives, but there's a way to get people to do things because they want to do them, because they feel appreciated. And now I know some of those people I know are faced with some real dilemmas out there, even though they may have certain skills that they can use in other ways, but many of them were trained to do very specific things in the company, and they were excellent at it, and we did send them to trade schools and even some communication workshops and all these things that helped make them better employees, better people, and more satisfied in what they were doing.
You know, you had a personal experience with one young man that came from Guatemala and couldn't speak English, looking for a job, not a down-and-outer, but aggressively looking for a place to land.
Walked in off the street.
You gave him a job at our company. He became one of the top producers at the company. Certainly not out of whipping somebody into line.
Started as a janitor. Taking my job over. We did every job.
We were all doing that.
We did everything. That was what we did.
And now, at the end, at ED&D, he was a top producer. Now he's gone, had to start over, having some real difficult times struggling. But there was a guy who could have taken his energy and even gone further. That's the part of the story. Another thing was, with this little company, when we joined with Sunbank, there was a couple of people that weren't able to keep up. Jim Gilson, who was the I don't want to say he wasn't able to keep up. Jim Gilson, who was
Well,
with me
things changed.
for 25 years.
Yeah.
We said we're going into the $8 to $10 million range, a small company, yeah. To take him into that arena would have been damaging to him. Matter of fact, we tried it for 6 months, and it was a damaging thing for both of us, a difficult thing. So we had to readjust, went back to school, learned some things, and said to Jim, you're really good at what you do. Why don't we assist you in starting your own business? We'll give you some of the stuff that you can do better, make more money for us, and it'll be a top quality product. So
I wonder how many companies do that instead of just boot them out the door.
It's satellited.
Absolutely.
We took care of those people. They cared for us, we cared for them. And the big company types, in my experience anyway, out of here, you're threatening to me, so out of here. I don't know what the threatening thing was, but I heard those words. We want him out of our life. We want him out of the way so they can do their thing, their manipulative thing.
But don't you think, I mean, this is the sad comment, I think that everything is about the bottom line, and we're talking dollars and cents. People don't care, they say we don't have the luxury, or whatever it is. But let's face it, people don't give a damn anymore.
But the bottom line is that the dollars and cents come with the productivity and with the ability of the employee to produce. And as long as the employee is stressed and strained, it's going to be a push every month to make your nut. When the employee is able to expand, to constantly grow and expand, and be supported in such a way that that employee feels certain within him or her that they can do the job that's necessary, they're able to push way past anything that could be accomplished by an employee that's under the whip all the time.
And they get excited about it when they're not under the whip.
And the money gets made faster, the money gets made cleaner, you sleep better at night, and you know that you've made a contribution.
Right.
And your pockets are full.
Well, what really happened with Jocelyn Corporation and ED&D Electronics? I mean, because of course I was gone by that time, and it was you and Doug that...
It was, I feel there was a plan about that before they bought the company. They said to me various things that I'll attest to. And I'm attesting that they said these things. You will make more money and the company will be better off if you sell to us than if you kept it by yourself. So we sold them 80% of the company, or sold them another 29%. They own 51% by buying Sunday. We will not change a thing. You can maintain your autonomy and keep on with your program. Now, put a thing in there that, I went to school, studied real hard, and whatever. Not making myself a martyr, but studied real hard to become better than I was at this new thing, taking care of people. And the thesis was called Spirituality and Productivity. And
at Pepperdine.
At Pepperdine University, wonderful place. And that was a controversial thesis, but it was based on ED&D. When we took the people, communicated with them, and their productivity rose measurably, and the people felt better. Okay. When Jocelyn read, I gave them my thesis to read before they bought the company, because I said, you sure you want to buy this company? Why do you want to buy this company? So, because it's the one that has the greatest potential to grow. So I was easily seduced because it was right down my alley. I want to do this. I want to be part of a great team. So Jocelyn then purchased it. Within the first 2 months, they fired the president of Sunday, who was a great guy, brought the company from $5 million to $40 million, $36 million or whatever. And so you sensed a trend. They asked Lynda to leave early on.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Yeah. So there was something about that. There was some difference in
Yes.
regardless of the value that she had, a tremendous value. Then they asked me to step aside from operations into sales, and then you can go up in the ranks of the company, you can become a VP of Jocelyn if you do these certain things. Okay, I'll do that. I left the company, and like I said last show, when the champion leaves, and there's the person that cares for the product, knows the people that build the product, when that leaves, something happens. Then big company both politics and accounting methods came into the company was paying more attention to the paper than they were to the product. So the company is now out of business. That's devastating to some of those folks. It's hard enough for me. I'll take my hit and I'll go forth. But those people that were there, the excitement that they had in their lives, that's devastating. That's disaster. That's cruel. I don't know if it's illegal, but boy, it's cruel to those folks. Because I love those people.
Of course.
And they knew that we loved them.
Yeah.
They were having a lot of fun with those folks.
I know that.
Yeah.
Small business and medium-sized business, that type of thing, has always been the backbone of this country. And unfortunately, when big business became aware of the tax advantages in buying small companies and strangling them
That's the problem.
and tossing them in the ash can, it became like, oh boy, here's a way to make some more bucks, guys. Let's take these companies, you know, and that's, listen, we can't necessarily blame the guys for wanting to make a few extra bucks. However, when you're taking people's lives in your hands, and that's really what you're doing, and you've got to have some sense of responsibility about that. And in my opinion, there was no sense of responsibility about any of the people who were involved in the company. This is from our own personal experience, and not necessarily from my experience out there in the rest of the business world, because I haven't been out there. But I do know that there are a number of small businesses that have been taken over, dumped in the ash can, and tossed. And the people who were part of those companies are the blood of this country. Those companies are the backbone that makes this country great. We can't do that and expect to continue to produce and keep our nation at the level that we want it to be at.
Well, I, for one, and I know you two are also in that arena, and we're asking those of you who are viewing to please let us know how you feel about that and give us a call, and let's see if we can make some impact in this area.
Oh, good.
Time's up again.
Yeah,
That's
fast.
Thank you for being here, both of you.
Thank you, sweetie.
And well, I was cold before. You guys warmed me up. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.